So I just wanted to get this out onto a video. I was having some morning thoughts. Most mornings I wake up with some sort of big grand thought or idea, and I want to try and track it and see if I can get to the source of what it's about for me, what the truth is about it for me, and if I can sort of try and understand it from instead of this everyday sort of being, it's more of from the spiritual, physical, and sort of mental perspective, so I can look at things and sort of analyze how they all work together in these three sort of main areas. So recently I had this thought of what creates human attraction. And I think there's a lot of components that come into it. So I wanted to sort of track it in a few different ways of not only how it went, sort of how it tracks for me or how it works for me, or, how it works for everyone. So I started with the first thing when you meet someone, like, and I'm talking about attraction, like, I suppose not so much in a sexual way, but more of a partnering way. So not attraction is as in looking for that new friend or something. It's more the attraction of, wanting a deeper or more meaningful relationship with someone when you meet them. So I know that sometimes when you meet new people, you will look at people and you will see, or you will feel, oh wow, that's really pleasing for me. That's something that I really like. And I was trying to wonder where that comes from. So a lot of it will probably be based on who you are as a person, what the world has shown you to be something ideal or that's pleasing to your eye, as well as sort of all the experiences you've had in your life and other lives as well, I guess, and sort of, across your past and things that you've seen or brought into your awareness, and people have sort of, concreted that thought, oh, that looks good or that looks bad. And when you sort of see someone looking in a certain way, and, when you're looking at either, say a muscly physique versus a fat and floppy physique, that it really gets solidified all around the place from, your parents' work, your environment, the things you watch on TV, the ads, social media of, what is more acceptable than the other one, so that it really sort of gets embedded into you of something that, through your eyes that you are going to find appealing. So every time you sort of see an image and, you're sending that response back to your brain of, that's good, that's good, that's bad, it keeps sort of solidifying in your mind and making something real based on, just your experience or your awareness around you. But if you sort of go back, like you try and start thinking about, what about the olden days? What were they doing in the olden days? What did people look like in the olden days? And obviously, I don't know what you want to term as the olden days, but to me, I'm looking at it in the standpoint of before we had technology, before we sort of had all the luxuries and the wonderful things that we have around us. It's when we were out there working with our hands, we were not distracted by watching things on a screen. We're outside in nature, we're outside doing things. We were tending to animals, making food from scratch, growing things, fixing things with our hands, making things. So, I guess the both the males and the females were, both more of what that sort of fit optimum state is of what our body is, which also brought me to, well, what is that? And I guess when the human body was designed, there was sort of, there'd probably be some sort of, easy common ground of range of what was healthy and what was not. So that the original idea was, that you had X amount of body fat, you had X amount of muscles, you had all these things firing in the right way, all these sort of organs and liquids and hormones and things were all working in a certain way. And I think as sort of we've progressed as a humanity, that a lot of that has changed, because we're not doing those things with our hands. We're not planting, we're not cleaning or building or foraging or trying to hunt for our food. So our body types have changed a lot, but somewhere in there we will still sort of have that image of what we were supposed to have back in the olden days. And then sort of now I guess we would have a new acceptable norm based on, when you look around and you see the people around you, and it's all those judgments and things that we've made where you look at someone and go, well, if they're fat, well, they're unhealthy, which may not be the case. However, if you do still go back to those olden days and you look at, well, why have we all sort of evolved into these people with all these health conditions, and the way that they're being born with certain shapes and sizes and things like that, is because of the conditioning of the programming that we already have, that's sort of coming down the ancestral lines as we sort of reproduce and have more children, so that there's more kids born with more sort of health conditions. There's more things that we sort of take on as disease as we get older and start to live our lives, and unable to cope with the everyday, and all these things sort of fester and become things that are appear in our body when they're more of deep down into the emotional type of sense. But that's sort of the evolution of the person. I think that's why sort of the body types have changed, and even though they might have changed, and maybe some people's sort of opinions about it have changed, I don't think it's really changed a whole lot, because you still see a lot of the social media and the things outside of us that we're told is what acceptable and what's not acceptable. So where we sort of stand in what we see as appealing to our eyes is going to be different for every single person because of that conditioning. But then it also led me over to the thinking part. So how sometimes when you meet someone and just say instantly, you'll already get that reaction of what they look like, and if you feel the way that they look like is accepting or not, and regardless of whether you're a judgmental person or not, somewhere somehow in there is going to be that field in there that you've already made a decision on whether you think that person is right, or if something's wrong with them, or you don't like their hair, their eyes, their face, or subconsciously we just do that. It's just something that I think has become our new norm. But when you first start to make those judgments on people, it's funny how when you get to know some of those people, so it can be in social circles or in workplace environments or any sort of other place, I guess, but it's funny how mostly in work environments, because I suppose most of the time you're going to spend a lot of time with that person, and as you get to know people, you will get to see their personalities, their opinions, their thoughts, their stories. You'll really start to get to know that person more on a deeper level versus over the actual physical level. And you normally find, like with some people, how you can just, once you start talking with them, you will just connect with them, and you'll connect with them in a whole different way that you ever thought possible. And so while you're talking to these people and you are enjoying the things that they're saying to you, and you are able to have those conversations that you want to have with each other, and your brain starts to realize that, okay, while I'm looking at this person, I'm listening to their thoughts, this person is becoming more acceptable for me to look at. So it starts creating these new sort of patterns. I'm not a scientist. I don't know if there's any real science to this, but this is what I think to be true. And this is what I've seen in my own life and in a lot of other people's um, journeys as well. So once you get to really sort of enjoy that person's company, the things that they're saying, and your brain starts responding to that, going, I like this, I like what they're saying, they're making me feel good. So all those feel good hormones are coming out, and your body knows that this person is safe, this person has got, something they want to hear more of, this person is someone who I could spend more time with. And then so as those conversations and days go by, and it's more and more of those moments where you are, feeling good because you're talking to this person and feeling good that you're able to have these conversations with this person, your brain is going to start looking at them in a whole different way, because you know that every time you interact with, this person is a physical with their voice and whatever coming out, it's being conditioned in your mind that they're safe and there's something that you really want to spend more time with. So when you start to look at them, they start to look better because your body's already knows that there's a lot of things about this person that you like, and the appearance is literally just, something that is a conditioning in your mind. So when you start looking at those things, it's going to change, and everything that looked at that you thought, that you didn't find appealing at the beginning may suddenly become more appealing because of sort of who they are. And I know when people talk about, they say, get to know the real person outside, doesn't matter. And so you really got to think about that. And it's really sort of, once you can sort of think about it on a deeper level and really understand sort of what it means, you will see it. And you've probably already seen it, how that sort of changes. And even if you did an experiment or something, if you started somewhere new, or if you met a new person or something, you could, just for your own sake, you'll write down what your initial thought of this person when you first saw them, what your initial thoughts were. You would have already made judgments of, what you thought their opinions were going to be, what you thought they're going to sound like, what you think they're going to say or react, or things they're going to do in certain situations. You can write all that down and revisit it in 6 months and see if it's the same. Because I think that we make so many judgments when we look at people, and whilst some people are going to be a lot more judgmental than other people, it doesn't always have to be who we are. And I think that's another conditioning that we've sort of brought across into our lives, where we are sort of taught to judge on, what we see first, instead of, sort of delving in and seeing more to the person and more to the situation. I think that's where we need to evolve to, is not having that huge judgment side. And let me tell you, I was the queen of the judgments, and I could, I used to think I had this superpower that, I could look at people and I could tell you exactly what they're like and things like that. And so it is something that I've sort of really done a 360 at. And I think if you look back as well, I'm sure, back in the olden days, again, it would have been a lot different. We would have accepted people, a little bit more of how they are instead of how they looked. Well, we may judge them from a different way based on, how well could they cook, how well could they clean, how were their hunting skills and things like that. So maybe in a way we did always have that sort of judgment, but I think it would be kind of nice to sort of really try and accept people the way they are. And I know it is probably really difficult, especially if you don't even mean to do it, how your body and your mind and your thoughts automatically go straight to that. I need to make a judgment because I'm looking at something. And I'm sure even sitting here, I've just realized that I forgot that I put these earphones on this stupid weird way. And I'm sure that when you first started watching this video, or if you're listening to the podcast, you can't see it, but you'd be looking at this going, what the hell, why the hell has she got this headphone looking like that? She looks like an idiot. And I'm sure also while you're watching the video, you'd be looking in the background, you'd be looking at my hair, at my shirt. It's those things that we automatically do, and I do it all the time as well, don't get me wrong, you start to look at everything around it. You think, you make judgments on all of it. So you're looking at, oh, what are those books? What are those things in the background? Do I need that? What is that? Oh, I wouldn't do that. And you have all these opinions and judgments and thoughts and things. And I guess that's just part of the human nature. But I think as we sort of try and retrain ourselves, over to just sort of accepting it is what it is and trying not to make those big judgments and sort of making these realizations without sort of getting to know a person, a situation, or a thing, it's going to be a lot better for us. I digress anyway a little bit. But with the physical and the mind, obviously, there's also the soul level connection. And the soul level connection, I guess, I don't know, I can't put that one into words as it was easily as the physical, and the sort of the mental attraction. But I think at a soul level, your soul's just going to know it's going to be something different, or an accumulation of all of the three together, where you are going to connect on a soul level. You are going to find that one person that's going to get that deep down connection into, the real you, the true you. And I know there's a lot of talk about the twin flames and things like that, which I'm not going to really talk about because that's probably another whole topic. So if you do get those soul connections, it is going to be something that if you know type thing. So I think when we are starting to make these connections with people, we need to sort of be aware of, those three sort of different aspects. And, somehow they'll sort of form themselves as well together, and you'll sort of know if the people that you are surrounding yourself, or you are initially attracted to in some way, is going to be sort of the full package, or something that you do want to move forward with. Obviously, there's different types of attractions as well. So even if you do have some of those mental connections, and then you start to have those physical associations because of the mental connections, and you could want to take a friendship deeper, and sometimes it may not always be on some sort of sexual partner type level. It's more of, I really like this person, I want to hang out with this person as a friend. You'll only get to know that if you really get to know people as well. I also thought into, are we meant to mate for life? So if you base the connection based on the thoughts and the things that the other person is saying, the things that you're saying, obviously, with everyone, sometimes your opinions and your thoughts and the things that matter to you will change over time. This can be for many different reasons, but you can change, and so can another person. So initially, when you first sort of made a connection and you felt like you wanted to spend more time with a person, if something changes and that person sort of goes off in a different direction, and you no longer gel in the same way that you did before, it's sometimes a human nature to want to hold on to that relationship, especially if it's something that you've spent a long time on. And it's only just recently that I can really see this and do it from sort of a non-judgmental outside type of frame. But I think relationships aren't always here forever. I think they're here for a certain time period. I think that we're here to learn certain things from certain people. We're here to get certain downloads and ideas and thoughts and experiences just through certain people, just through certain relationships, and sometimes just for a certain period of time. And I think that us as humans have also evolved into the fact that we feel like we need to hold on to these relationships. So even when we know that, we're both done with a relationship, you still keep holding on to it, especially if it's something that you've had for a long time. So especially marriages or long-term friendships, because you've got that whole long experience and a lot of other things that have sort of happened around it, you feel like that you need to hold on to that relationship a bit longer because it's something that you know, it's something that you feel comfortable with. It's, it's that fear of change that we all have, and a lot of us don't like changing. It's we don't want to get out of our every day or our routine or our normalness. We want to stay in, what feels comfortable, because change does feel uncomfortable. Even if it's a great change, it does feel uncomfortable because we have to sort of get out of that moment. And I think we do that with relationships a lot as well. We hold on to friendships that, we probably could have let go a long time. We hold on to marriages and partnerships because, we're married, right? We're told that marriage is something that you have to do till, the day you die. And how many marriages do you know sort of end in so many bad ways because people don't get out, and people always stay together because of the kids, or the financial aspect, or the living arrangements, or things like that. So there's so many other outside influences that are affecting how you feel in that relationship. And sometimes we just sort of, write down the things that we don't want in that relationship. So if you do have a partner that's, maybe they're just not allowing you to really be yourself, like, they're not being violent or mean or nasty. It's just, that you can't be your 100 true self with them. So, like, just say you wanted to, I don't know, dance out in the rain every time it rained or something, and your partner or husband or wife or whatever is always thinking, you're a weirdo. Why would you be doing that? So you start to think, I'm not going to do that. I'm a little bit weird, but deep down, you really want to do that. And, just because that other person has said to you that it's weird and you don't do it, and then you sort of retract a little bit into yourself. And, it's those things like that that sort of compound and build up and build up. And, over time, because you start, excuse me, you start getting worried about, what the other person is thinking, and you don't want to do things that rock the boat or things that they don't like, because you want to make sure you try and please people. And, then you shrink more and more and more into a person who you wouldn't even recognize if you went way back to the beginning. And you become this person based on who the other person was, instead of you being the person who that you really want to be. So I think that, your relationships and partnerships really need to be surrounded by people who will sort of look at you in that way of you do you. And, I'm going to support you no matter what, regardless of whether I think whatever you're doing is silly or stupid, or, whether I think you're making a bad choice or a bad decision, or I don't understand or don't agree with what you're doing. They're the sort of people you need to surround yourselves with. And in relationships, because we're so wanting of having that connection, having that other person, who loves us and supports us, that sometimes, that person can be that person who will love us and support us. But it's all those other things that don't let us really come up and shine as who we are, that we still hold on to that relationship because we want that love, and we want that comfort, and that thing that just feels so normal to us, and we don't want to break away from that. And you'd also be thinking about the judgment from others. If someone said, "Oh, why'd you break up?" It's like, "Oh, well, you didn't like me dancing in the rain." And people be like, well, did he hit you? Did he cheat on you? Blah, blah, blah. Like, it seems like a society thing where we feel like that you can't break up a relationship based on things that you want. It has to be something huge. It has to be, something big. People find it really hard to understand that people can just sort of, break off or stop a friendship or a partnership because of, they're just going in two different directions. And, we really need to start normalizing that and know that that's okay, that, we're only here to live our own lives. We're not here to live anyone else's lives. We're not here to do things for other people. We're not here to, bow down and change the way that we feel about things to make other people feel happy or better about themselves. We're only here to experience our own life, and we really need to surround ourselves with the people who are going to do that. And I know that is hard, and that's one of the things that I really talk about, is it's that conditioning and those emotions, and who we have become as a person, that is stopping us from being those people who aren't supporting the other people around us. And I see that now so clearly, and before I was not one of those people who saw that clearly, and I would be that person. So everything I talk about by this, you know, these other people who are doing these things, excuse me, that aren't supporting you. That's exactly who I was. I was one, oh, why would you do that? Because I don't agree with that. And that's not something that I would do. So don't do it type sort of attitude. And that has something that's really changed. And I think we really need to start sort of looking at that and, you know, maybe start to view our relationships a little bit better. And see if we can make a change somewhere in there and see if we can make it a bit easier for someone else to, you know, express who they are, express who they want to be. You know, we're here in this human, we're having our own little human experience, and we need to try and do it as authentically and in alignment with who our true selves are as much as we can. So think about your relationships and the people around you. I'm not saying go out there and go, nope, you all suck. I'm done with everybody that you know. Don't do that unless you want to, of course, do that. But honestly, have a little look at it. Have a look at, you know, some of your relationships around you. Look at the people around you. Look at if you're in a partnership. Look at that. Even in a work relationship, look at that and sort of see see where you stand on the relationship. Have a look at the judgments. Have a look at the things that you're tolerating and things like that. Like, there are things that you can tolerate in relationships and things that you're happy to deal with and things that you're happy that, you know, even if you wanted to do that, you know that you don't either want to because of another person, or you feel comfortable in not doing that anymore because another person doesn't like that. That's fine. If you're happy to do that, do it. But, you know, have a little look at it. Have a look at the things that you really want to do. Have a look at if the people around you will support you in doing what you really want to do. And if not, take stock of that. Have a look at it. See if it's a conversation that you can have. I know people are people, and you're going to know your people better than anyone else. But if you can actually physically ask someone and say, you know, oh, look, we've had this friendship or partnership or relationship for, you know, so long. I feel like I'm moving in this direction, to sort of like doing this a little bit more. How would you feel? You know, if I sort of wanted to move down this route and do these sort of things, or focus on this, or spoke more like this, and see what you get back. You're only going to know if you ask, right? Same as that, you know, if your partner or something is doing something that you don't like, have an honest discussion. Just, you know, it doesn't have to be, I don't like how you do this, I don't like how you do that, blah, blah, blah. You know, have an honest discussion. This is something that, you know, it's been bugging me a little bit. This is something that I want to see if we can change, or we can fix, or we can make better, or do different, or I feel like I want to go in this different direction. And just see, have a conversation, see what happens. You know, the worst thing that can happen is that it all turns to crap, right? So it can't get any worse than that. And then, you know, if it does turn to crap, and, you know, everything sort of becomes how you perceive as the worst thing in the world, you're going to get out of it. It's going to get better afterwards. So you really don't have anything to lose. So that's my little chat on human attraction. It's probably a lot bigger conversation than what I've just spoke about, but that's some of the key pointers I really wanted to get out, because I'll probably do another video also, because I was really thinking about the masculine and the feminine and the difference. And I don't know if I just said that feminine. Did I say it right? You know what I mean. So I'll probably deep dive a little bit more into that in another video, but I hope you enjoyed this one, guys, and I'll catch you on the next one.